Welcome to The Explainer. Today we are cracking open the Forbes file on, well, one of the most talked about people on the planet, Elon Musk. We're going to distill everything Forbes has been tracking about his wealth, his unique way of thinking, and what was an absolutely chaotic year for him.
So let's just start with a number that kind of frames this entire conversation. This is his projected net worth for late 2025, according to Forbes' real-time tracker. $744.6 billion. I mean, it's a number that's so big it's almost hard to wrap your head around.
Which, leads to the big question, right? How on earth does one single person build an empire on that scale? Well, to even begin to understand a number like that, you have to look at the massive, world-changing companies that are actually driving it.
Okay, so let's get into it. We're going to peel back the layers and look at the key parts of his corporate empire. These are the real engines of his wealth.
According to Forbes, the list of companies he's co-founded is pretty sprawling. Of course, you've got Tesla, which is completely rewriting the rules for the car industry. Then there's SpaceX, which is doing the same thing for space travel. You've got his big play in AI and social media with X, what we all used to know as Twitter, and his newer venture, XAI. And that's not even counting the really frontier tech stuff like the Boring Company and Neuralink. But here's the thing. While that empire is really wide, the Forbes analysis makes it super clear that the vast majority of that staggering net worth, it really just boils down to three key assets.
And this is where it gets really interesting when you look at how his wealth is actually structured. You see, with Tesla, he owns about 12%. Now that's a relatively small piece of a huge public company. But then you look at SpaceX, and his stake is way bigger, around 42%. And with X and XAI, he's the majority owner, which gives him incredible control.
And just to give you an idea of the scale we are talking about here, in a projected tender offer for late 2025, his private company, SpaceX, was valued at $800 billion. Just one piece of his empire is bigger than the entire economy of many countries. It's just wild. So we've seen what he's built, but the really fascinating part is how he does it. This isn't just about the companies themselves. It's about this very specific philosophy he uses to build them. It's how he thinks about problems.
And this quote, which Forbes highlighted, is pretty much the key to everything. It unlocks his entire strategy. It's not about making small improvements to what's already there. It's about starting over from the absolute basics.
So what does that actually mean? Well, think about it like this. A normal rocket company would look at a rocket and ask, how do we make this 10% cheaper? First principles thinking asks, what is a rocket made of? Aluminum, copper, titanium. What's the price of those materials on the open market? And by building your logic up from there, you get something totally different, like a reusable rocket, which everyone else thought was impossible.
But here's the thing. This super logical, physics-based way of engineering exists right alongside this incredibly turbulent and often chaotic public life. And according to the source material, 2025 was the year that chaos really hit a fever pitch.
I mean, Forbes does not mince words here. They summed up his year with this headline. They called it his most chaotic year ever, and somehow also his most profitable, a total paradox.
And you can see this chaos just playing out everywhere. His gigantic Tesla pay package, worth an insane $139 billion, was thrown out by a judge, a huge loss. But then, just a few months later, the Supreme Court turned around and gave it right back to him, a massive win. And at the same time, his company X is getting hammered with huge fines overseas. It was just a year of constant legal whiplash. And the controversy didn't end there, not by a long shot. The whole rebranding of Twitter to X was still a massive battleground. Forbes said the company was basically fighting a new social media war over its own brand, pushing away some old-school users even as it tried to pull in new ones. But, and this is the craziest part, look at what was happening to his money while all this chaos was going on. Just in the month of December, his net worth shot past $600 billion because of SpaceX. Then another SpaceX deal pushed him even closer to being a trillionaire. Then he got his massive pay package back, and he ended the year at that incredible $744 billion mark. The chaos and the cash were literally happening at the exact same time.
Okay, so what's the end game here? With all this money, all this tech, where is all this actually headed? Well, the reporting from Forbes gives us a pretty big clue about what he's thinking.
It's clear his focus is shifting. He's thinking way beyond just building successful companies. He's starting to talk about using all this technology, especially AI, to build a future of abundance, a future that could completely change what it means to be human and what our role in the world is.
So we'll leave you with this final thought.
Forbes lays out how one person is gathering an unbelievable amount of resources to solve problems on a global, even an interplanetary scale. And he's imagining a future where things like work might become totally optional. So the big question is, as he's busy building that future, are any of us actually